If you're thinking of buying a business, stop. This video will show you exactly why you should be buying an established, profitable business instead. If you want to get into business, starting a business from scratch is hard, head-aching work that doesn't always prove successful. In fact, you could be working for years and not make any money. I've done it. I know exactly what it takes, and I wouldn't recommend it. Where if you buy an existing, established, successful, profitable business, then you've got several things from day one. Well, you've got a product, you've got a service, you've got staff, you've got an office, you've got website, you've got marketing, and more importantly than anything else, you've got customers and you've got cash flow. So when you buy an established, profitable business, you're buying customers and cash flow from day one. And if it's making money from day one, that money is going to be yours. So the advantages of buying a business over, for example, property investing and the stock market, which are kind of touch and go at the moment, is absolutely huge. But people make mistakes when it comes to buying a business, huge mistakes. And I want to cover some of those common mistakes because I want you to realize what you need to avoid. So the first mistake that people make is believing that they need all the money themselves in order to buy a business. So they see a business, the owner wants, let's say, $1 million, and they therefore think that they need $1 million, or they need to go and borrow $1 million, and they think, well, have I got that equity in my real estate, in my property? No, I haven't. How do I go to the bank and ask for $1 million? I've never done that in my life. That's way outside my comfort zone. How do I do it? So they stop because they don't know how to do it. So everything that I do here at Dealmakers is showing people how to do this and also how to get out of your own way as well. You see, the biggest hindrance when buying a business is our own self-talk, the things that we tell ourselves about what's possible and what's not possible. So let's get this out of your mind that you need to be a multimillionaire in order to buy a multi-million annual revenue business. You do not. You see, we can fund business acquisitions using different methods of funding, none of which require your own cash. So that's the first mistake that people make. They think they need their own money. You don't. The second mistake that people make is raising the money, using other people's money to buy the business, and then they give all that money to the seller of the business, and the seller gives them the keys to the business, and you part company and they go off on the world cruise and you've now got a business. Now that's a terrible idea. We should always retain part of the business price to pay out in the future. Now what that does is it keeps the seller honest. It keeps the seller on the straight and narrow and make sure that they tell you what is required to make this business successful. You see, if they get all the money on day one, they've gone off into the sunset and they don't think about you ever again. And you're left holding the baby. You've got the business to look after. So what we always do is make sure that the seller stays on for a period of time, for a transition period, to make sure that you've got a successful business. And we pay them part of the price for the business over a period of time, a period of years, in fact. And that means that you and the seller are both aligned to make sure that you get a successful outcome. Now, the next mistake that people make when buying a business is thinking that you have to do it all by yourself. You don't. I don't know any successful business buyer who does it all by themselves. You need what we call a deal team. Now, what is a deal team? A deal team is the right accountant, the right CPA, the right lawyer, the right person to help you get the deal over the line. You see, how long does it take to buy a business? Well, if you don't know what you're doing, it can take you a very, very long time. But if you know what you're doing and you're following a system, it only takes you about 2 hours a week. And that's 2 hours a week, evenings and weekends. So you can be in full-time employment and buy a business. Now, those 2 hours a week are spent telling your deal team what you need them to do for you. So they are going to work for you to make sure that this business acquisition is successful. Now, what always crosses people's minds at this point is, well, that's all well and good, Jonathan. I get that. We get the CPA, the accountant, the lawyer to do their bits because that's not what we're qualified to do anyway. But how are we going to pay them? Because that sounds kind of expensive. Well, you're right, it does sound kind of expensive until you think of it like this. They do not send their bill, their invoice to you until you've bought the company. And once you own the company that you've bought is going to pay those bills, which means that your acquisition is going to be self-funding. Now, that's a really clever way of doing it. Then people always have this thought that what happens if the deal doesn't close? What happens if you don't complete the deal? Are you left with a bill? Well, yes and no. There are ways of mitigating that. Very important that you know exactly how to do that, of course. But at the end of the day, what happens if you follow a system, follow a process, the chances of a deal not happening are like 1 in 100. If you don't follow the system, then absolutely, deals do fall over. And everything I do here at Dealmakers is about the complete business buying system, following a 21-step system to business buying success. So those are the 3 most commonly made mistakes, misconceptions that people have about buying a business. You've come this far, let's take the next step together, which is a free live training, and you can access it immediately. Just go to the description underneath this video. There is a link there at the top. Click the link and I will see you on the training.